Rohan, you're in the Bronx chasing the story of a man that might be called another prisoner on Rikers Island. Tell us about it.
Guys, this is Pedro Hernandez. He's currently incarcerated at Rikers Island. In 2016, when he was 16 years old, he was charged with firing a gun into a crowd in the Morrisania section of South Bronx. The incident occurred in September of 2015. One teenager was shot in the leg. Pedro has vehemently maintained his innocence since the day he was arrested. Now, initially, eyewitnesses allegedly told investigators that Pedro was in fact the shooter, landing him in his cell. Fast forward to today, everything is flipped. It's been reported that at least 2 eyewitnesses have changed their tune and said that Pedro was in fact not the shooter. Some reportedly claim that they were pressured also by detectives to finger Pedro in the shooting. Now, the shooting victim, he has since come forward to say himself that Pedro was not the person who shot him. Even with all of that, Pedro remains in custody, charged, not convicted of any crime. Wednesday, he had a hearing to determine his fate. They got a plea offer. Plead guilty, do probation for 5 years, and if there's no incidents during that time, his record would be wiped clean. Now, Pedro, he turned it down. His mother told me that he would never say he was guilty of something that he did not do. Pedro actually graduated high school through a GED program in Rikers Island. Now, I've confirmed that he actually was offered a full college scholarship from the Posse Foundation, but he cannot accept this scholarship while behind bars. He can get out right now to the tune of $250,000 bail. I came to the Bronx to speak to his mother, Jessica Perez. She's not responded since I got here, but I spoke to her on the phone in detail earlier. Now, she started a crowdfunding site attempting to raise bail money because if Pedro isn't released by September 1st, he loses that scholarship completely.
Rohan, there's been a lot of comparisons between Pedro and Khalif Browder, the young man who committed suicide in Rikers after being held for months and months and months after stealing a book bag. What do you think about the comparisons between the two?
Pedro's charge is much more violent, and also while Pedro was incarcerated during his first year, he was brutally beaten, and that video actually came out and was released, and Pedro actually had to spend months recovering from that. The security officer that assaulted him while he was in custody has since been fired and now is being reprimanded by the state of New York.
To weigh in on this story, we've got TV journalist Mike Schneider, veteran of a lot of big cases, big stories. What does a case like this say about our justice system?
Eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable. The jails are filled with people who were put there by eyewitnesses, and DNA evidence in many cases have cleared them. The fact that this young man is not willing to take a plea to get out of jail and do probation right now says a lot to me about why he's there.
But there were witnesses who initially did describe him as the shooter. Why should their testimony be discounted this much further down the line?
I mean, that's why we have an appeals process. Now we have to see the eyewitnesses who have changed their story right now, how they balance out against the others. And a lot of time has passed. I mean, it may be that this young man needs a new trial simply to establish the reality of what is right now. It's tough.
You have shaky eyewitness accounts. You have him being put in jail where he's beaten. You have the police officer who made the arrests, then getting himself jammed up in misconduct investigation charges. Just from every angle, this guy has been seemingly...
Well, hold on, Brian. Everything that you said is troubling, but none of what you said exonerates him.
Publicly, at least, all we have is eyewitness testimony, which is incredibly, as you said, unreliable. So it just has to come down to forensics or ballistics or something, or otherwise, what else do they have on him?
I mean,